Hello students, I'm Dr. Sonia Kaur Bansal. Welcome to Gyanvyar School of Education, Suresh Gyanvyar University. Today's topic is aims and impact of globalization in education, and the subject is contemporary India and education. So students, we are going to study about aims and impact of globalization in education. We are going to just revise what is globalization, as you have already seen my detailed video about globalization and its meaning, role and status and problems. So let's discuss today's learning objectives, which are related to like I would be enable you to understand the concept of globalization and education. Then we will discuss the status and role of teachers also in globalization and education, aims and impact of globalization in education. So students, just understand that globalization is a very wide concept and you all must understand it, being the prospective teachers. Because in coming scenario, this is very important for all of you to understand the concept of globalization in the education field, because if we are not understanding it, you will not be able to achieve those high objectives which are set by the educational policies, our government, our country. So to bring a proper harmony in education with another world also, other countries also, you have to be very well versed with globalization. So let's understand first of all how the globalization is defined. So according to T. Evans, globalization is the space-time compression. In simple words, it means shrinkage of space as well as times, which brings together nations, cultures, and economies in mutual respect for one another. It simply means, students, that if we are talking about the concept globalization, we are not talking about space, a particular boundary. We are not talking about time. So, according to T. Evans, also, this is actually the shrinkage of space, the world space, where everybody is considered at one platform, and which bring together nations, cultures, economies in mutual respect for one another. We respect other people and other people respect us. So this is how globalization is defined according to T. Evans. Then globalization is the system of interaction among the countries of the world in order to develop the global economy. So firstly, it was in that case that globalization was only used to considered as a in economic perspectives, but now globalization refers to the integration of economies and societies all over the world. So students, so globalization involves technological, economic, political and cultural exchanges made possible largely by advances in communication, transportation and infrastructure. So this is how globalization is increasing day by day, because the world has now become a one place. It is not included in another place, or it is not like that globalization is considered at only and only at one country. Everywhere the concept is being very well understood, because we cannot live alone in our own country. We have to seek the coordination, well adjustment with other societies also. So this is how it is working in a very beautiful way when we are talking about globalization in technological, economical, political, cultural exchanges. So students, just understand it in this way. Now, next, I'm talking about globalization and education. So, people around the world are more connected with each other. There is need of understanding of interaction of human society and environment all over the world. It is true, students, that we cannot live alone, and for that purpose, actually we are actually surviving within ourselves also, but we are taking help of other people also. So for that very good purpose, we are actually connected more and more with each other. So education in global society has greater responsibility of shaping preferred futures of the students. Because when we are talking about education, education means all around development of our innate powers, potentials. So when education is talked in this reference, so globalization is must for that purpose, because global society has greater responsibilities of shaping the preferred futures of the students, which alone cannot be possible. Then liberalization and privatization has changed the education scenario today, because many countries are investing in other countries in form of liberalization, and they are actually sending their own educational institutions and setups. So this is how educational globalization is all around. Then privatization is actually when government is giving up the opportunities to some private people also to set up the educational institutions and then provide the education to large number of people. So exploration of change, interdependence, identity, diversity, rights and responsibilities, peace building, poverty and wealth, sustainability and global justice keys, areas where education has to play a vital role. There is not a single area students where education doesn't play a very good role. So just take care of it and just remember every time that education plays an important role in all the aspects of life. Developing skills of cooperation, shared responsibilities, critical thinking, communication, everywhere we are touched up with the globalization. So, positive and responsible values and attitudes are orientation to active participation. So, these are the things, students, that you must remember, that globalization is very deeply connected to education, because we are connected with each other. Nowadays, the world is a small place. With the help of social medias, WhatsApp, internet, Facebook, and everything, whatever we are using, Insta, Twitter. So it is how the people are being connected with each other. So these are the places where the understanding of interaction of human society is increasing with the environment and with each other also. So we all have a greater responsibilities for shaping next generation. So this is how education and globalization are deeply interconnected. So understand this in that view. The quantity and quality of education determine whether and how the country can participate in the processes of globalization. What kind of quality we are maintaining in our education system, and how many students, how many children are getting education every year. This is the major factor which is involving the process of globalization. So the process of globalization is really determined by the quantity and quality of education, because more and more the quantity and quality of the education will be maintained, the globalization will be strengthened. All right, students. So now let's discuss the aim of global education. So first of all, the aim, very important aim of global education is to create global citizens. We cannot keep our windows shut, and we cannot live in a one single room for throughout our life. By room, I mean our own country. By keeping shutting the windows, I mean not connecting with other people. So it would not be easy. It would not be actually healthy for a person's own grooming factors. So a global citizen is someone who is aware of the wider world and has a sense of his or her own role as a world citizen, respects and values diversity. That kind of citizen is not only valuing his or her own country's values and cultures and traditions, but also that kind of person who is a global citizen will also respect other people's values, beliefs, cultures, citizens, everyone. And Global citizen would also be very understanding of how the world works. In nutshell, students just understand that this type of student will not be able to uh, be confined in his own shell and is troubled by social injustice also whenever he or she is finding any injustice. Participates in the community at a range of levels, from the local to the global. And this type of citizen is also willing to act to make the world a more equitable and sustainable place. Takes responsibility for her or his actions. Feels an ethical responsibility to others around the globe. The person is not considered selfish or self centered. So, this is how the aim of global education is, first of all, to create global citizen where the worldwide perspective is inculcated in any citizen and he or she is taught to respect others' culture also. So this is a wonderful aim of global education that create global citizens. Second aim we are going to discuss about that knowledge and understanding. So knowledge and understanding will also be improved when we are talking about global education same. So interconnectedness and interdependentness. When we are internally connected with each other, we are actually increasing the horizon of our knowledge and we are understanding more and more people. And when we are understanding more and more people, then the aspects of different things are more clear. Environmental sustainability factors that contribute to quality of environment will be more understandable by the people. Economic development will be in thought process. Diversity, human rights, change management, conflict resolution, and peace building. These are some of the knowledge and understanding factors which have to be maintained through global education. And students, just I believe that when you are educating any child, a child should not be educated through books and text only. The child should be educated how to stay interconnected and interdependent on each other. How to maintain the sustainability of the environment's things, animals, or anything, or the resources, that how you are maintaining them. Then economic development is must in everywhere. So this should be given considerable thought. Human rights, change management, conflict resolution, and peace building. Now, third thing we are going to discuss about values and attitudes. Values are something students are carrying or people are carrying within them what they have learned from their family members, from their neighbors, from their environment, from their school, what kind of value they have achieved. So values are something that you must consider on top priority when we are talking about global education. Simply, there are few things which are actually lacking when the students of today's age are studying in a very theoretical way. In practical way, the students must develop very positive attitude towards each other. Personal identity must be explored, what and how they are building up their career, their own personality, self-esteem. So this is how they are working on that. Care and compassion, responsibility and cooperation, social justice, respecting diversity, environmental sustainability. So these are some values and attitudes that must be inculcated in our students when we are talking about global aims of global education. Then next, students, we are going to talk about skills and processes. So skills and processes are something that must be very much in consideration when we are talking about globalization of education. Students must learn few things in a practical form, like framework of knowledge, what it is, critical literacy, develop and express point of views, identify unfairness and action to redress it, empathy for others and environment cooperation. So this is how skills and processes are in very much continuation, when the ultimate aim is to develop competency in global education globalization. Students must identify, they must be able to know what they are learning, what is right and what is wrong. They must be very skillful in their psychomotor aspect, and they must be action oriented. They must have empathy for others and environment. These are the simple processes that it's including any student through global education. The aims of global education now involving action and participation. So, how we are improving the action and participation on global perspectives? Involvement, identify and investigate opportunities. Consider consequences as what will happen when you do something. Identify and overcome barriers. Nowadays, students are very easily shaken by barriers which they might face during their studies, during their career, during their job, or anything. They are easily shaken by anything. So, the aim of global education is just to inculcate those values, those involvement of the students that will actually enhance their own opportunities as a person. They will consider the consequences, identify and overcome all the barriers which they find, cooperate and value participation of others, reflect and evaluate action. So this is how students' aims of global education are meeting so many good things that teachers must be aware first of all. Because if teachers are not aware, then how can they develop these things in their students? Now, next, see students, it's about learning processes, teaching with a global perspective. When we are teaching in the classroom, it is not like that we are only thinking about ourselves. By ourselves means by our own city, district, state, nation. We have to be very particular when we are delivering any content to the students and taking care of it, that what my student will think after receiving this content in global perspective, how this content will help them in increasing this globalization. So learning processes must include a few things like an inclusive classroom. There must not be any kind of differentiation. Inclusive classroom includes the special children also, who are actually a little poor in understanding. And then participation for all. The teacher must understand the value of participation of all the students equally. It should not be like that the teacher is taking answers from some of the students only, or only some of the students are very active and handling the question answer session or any activity, demonstration activity with the teacher. So it should not be like that. Being a good teacher and being a teacher with teaching strategies of global perspective, you must include all the students equally. Then student centered learning. Learning should be according to the mental level of students. It should not be like that. It should be according to the teacher's way. Students should get freedom to ask the questions, and teacher must solve them according to their capacities. Then experiential learning, providing them direct experience to learning. Inquiry based learning, interactivity, cooperative learning. Building self esteem is very, very important. Enabling critical literacy is very important for the students. how they're getting literate, and what is the purpose of getting literate. Using current issues in the classroom and teaching accordingly is very important when we are talking about global perspective. Now, dealing with controversial issues, how, as a teacher, you would involve the global perspectiveness when you are dealing with controversial issues in your classroom. In that case, balance study and critical appraisal. Whatever you want to teach according to your content, balance that and critically appraise that, something that brings plus and minus points both together. Develop individual informed opinions. Everybody's opinion is very important. It's not like that only one or two students are very important and all other students are not. So develop that kind of opinion formation. Skills to formulate arguments using evidence. When students are arguing or debating on a particular topic on controversial issues, they must have proper evidence also, so that there is no heated argument. Rather, they are having some evidence to discuss upon. Commitment to human rights. First and very important thing, that human rights must not be ignored. So, this is how teaching with global perspectives. If you are ignoring the human rights, if the teacher is himself or herself biased and not considering all the students equal, and or he or she is not providing the equal opportunities to students, commitment to human rights must be there in a teacher, according to our constitution also. Then teaching with global perspectives, practice active citizenship, involvement in community activities, campaigns, identify, investigate, and evaluate alternative courses of action. Devise strategies to overcome barriers to active participation. Then these are some important things, students, that you must know. So this is how that participating active citizenship is helping your students to identify, investigate, and evaluate alternative courses of action. Devise strategies to overcome barriers to active participation. Reflect and reevaluate or evaluate effectiveness of action, whatever you have done, whatever you have given your students to do. So this is something very, very important. All right, students, so I hope you are learning. Teaching with a global perspective means a lot, where teacher plays an important role to inculcate so many values, knowledge, positive attitudes among the students. And this kind of practicing active citizenship is very, very important for the students. So students, I hope you are understanding this much. Now let's proceed further. Now, these are the skills of 21st century educator. When we are talking about globalization in the education, then we must think about how should be an educator. 21st century educator must be having the following characteristics showed in the flow diagram. Teacher must be the adapter. The teacher must adapt the new qualities, new kind of innovations in the teaching. Teacher should not be of this negative attitude that, okay, fine, I cannot do this and students will do it by themselves. So this is how the adaptability must be there. Then the communicator. Teacher must communicate all the important things to his or her students in a very nice way. Communication is the basis of their learning and basis of teaching. If we are not communicating well, then we cannot be sure that students are decoding your messages, whatever the content you are teaching. So the teacher must be a very good communicator. And then educator must also be a very good learner. We cannot stop learning if we are an educator. We must be up to date, time to time. So, this is how education will be more effective with new innovations, new perspectives. Then, educator must be the visionary. She must be able to see what's coming next. As I have told you, students, that teaching profession is now not an easy job. So you must understand this in a way that I have this vision. I have a clear vision that now teaching is not going to be a very easy profession, especially when we are talking about pandemic situation and other situations. So this is how teacher must talk in a very visionary way. Then the leader, a good teacher is always a leader. As the leader takes everyone along with him and solves all the problem. So the teacher must carry all the students with him or her and solve all the problems. And the leader is one who is enabling others, students also, to be very effective and competent enough. Then the model, as the teacher will do, the students will do. So the perfect model should be represented in front of the teacher. Then the educator must be collaborator. Fine, you are giving so many activities to your students, but it is also very essential that you are providing them the collaboration, because without your collaboration it is not possible that the students are learning well. So teacher must be a collaborator also. So the risk factor is involving. So the teacher must be the risk taker also. How should be the risk taker? Sometimes innovation demands few risk, and the teacher must understand that if he or she is trying to teach in that way which is not actually fruitful to the students, so methodology must be changed, teaching strategies must be changed, and for that risk taking aptitude must be there in this teacher. So this is how we have talked about skills of 21st century educator, how he or she should be. Now we are going to see it in a detail how it should be. So the first of all, I'm going to discuss with you all, it is about the risk taker. So the teacher should not wait for others to take the initiative. If as a teacher you are waiting for others, okay, fine, other people will do the work first and then I will do. This type of attitude is not enhanced. Okay, students, so this type of attitude is not enhanced or motivated. So always understand that teachers should not wait for others to take the initiative. They have to be the lead. Start that first of all, according to you. Take the initiative. Show your students that everything can be learned through risk and initiative taking. And sometimes surrender yourself to your students' knowledge. So this is how risk taker is very effective. Then the collaborator. The teacher should be able to collaborate the different tasks for the students. He should be able to collaborate the best technology in the teaching learning process. So teaching learning process is something that enhances the learning process in the students. So when you want your learning teaching to be accomplished, there should be learning. And in that condition, the teacher must be very good collaborator. Then the model. Teacher's job is not just instilling information in students' minds, just not fulfilling the minds with full of lots of information. But instilling is not a proper term to use. But they are also there to give the exemplary model of how the lifelong learner should be. Because teachers are always learner. So students are very much influenced by their teachers behaviors. Therefore, the 21st century teachers need to model several characteristics. So that's why the students are influenced and they take care of their teachers' steps and they follow them. The leader, the teacher should be able to guide the students properly. Your guidance works in a miraculous way. If you're not able to guide your students properly, whatever the confusion they are having, then don't think of that proper learning outcome which you have set for your content. So you must take care of this thing that you should avail them proper guidance also. Then visionary. Teachers must be imaginative. They need to foresee the potential of the emerging technologies. Look into others areas of the curricula and across disciplines. How do they work? How do they teach? How do they collaborate and adapt new technologies and innovations? Make links that enhance and value learning in other fields to leverage this knowledge and reinforce their teaching and the learning of the students. So lifelong must be learning must be there. So this covers the point, the learner. This is a good way students to teach others, but is it really possible that without learning ourselves we can teach others? No, it's not possible. So this is really a good way to teach others about what is special to you and to learn about other people at the same time. Learning, we all know that it is a continuous process, a lifelong commitment to knowledge. Teachers should always seek knowledge everywhere using technology. Nowadays, it is very important for everyone. So, how can we teachers be escaped of it? The world is dynamic and the horizons and landscapes are changing. So, do the teachers' needs and skills. We have to be up to date with our skills, competencies. Long ago acquired skills will not be cherished with us for a long time. They need to be updated. I hope you are understanding this much. Now, the communicator. The 21st century teacher should be fluent in the use of communication and information technologies. Teacher must know how to facilitate others, how to facilitate as well as stimulate and control the situation, moderate and manage them. The adapter, different as they are the models of learning, teachers should always make their teaching styles adaptive to the new curriculum requirements, the emerging latest technologies, the various age groups and abilities, the new dynamic teaching experience. So this is how it is working. Now students, let's have a look on the skills of 21st century educator. Because the aim is to enhance the globalization among students, and 21st century educator must involve all these things. So creativity and innovation, learning and innovation skills. This includes problem solving, logical and critical thinking. Then skills for 21st century educators, we are also looking at information, media and technological skills. So that means educator must be technologically literate, media literate, information literate, and then self-motivator. Careers and life skills must be there. And for that purpose, self-motivation should be there. Tolerance and democratic attitude must be there. There should not be authoritative attitude towards the students that okay, whatever I have said that is final. And you are now no more going to listen to others. So this is how it works in that way. And adjustability is the biggest thing that a teacher must possess. Now, students, we are going to see globalization and its impact to education. Till now, we have seen how should be the aim of education in the global perspectives when we are talking about globalization, as well as we have seen how should be the role of educator when we are talking about globalization. Now, thirdly, we are going to see the globalization and its impact to education. So, education will need rethinking and reconstructing if school is to best prepare the children and the youth of the world to engage globalization's new challenges, opportunities, and cost. So the needed reforms within the education system like content, equity, sand excellence, etc., and the fallout of globalization, which will entail determining education, finance related issues, and privation of secondary and higher second education. So this is how it is working. So now let's talk about some needed reforms in education. So first of all, we are going to discuss content of education, that is curriculum upgradation. Students, as we all know, that long ago decided content is not useful now, and we need some more up to date content. So education for globalization nurtures higher order cognitive and interpersonal skills required for problem finding, problem solving, articulating documents, and deploying variable facts and artifacts. So this is how it is working. Then secondly, we need productivity orientation. The basic objective of globalization is to enhance productivity and to make the educational system an instrument in preparing students who can compete in the world markets as productive members of society, selecting the best human and giving them education of the highest quality. So this is productive orientation. Number three, we are talking about privatization of secondary and higher education. It will mean a more competitive and deregulated educational system modeled after free market, but with the more pressure on its assure that the next generation of the workers are prepared for some amorphous job market of 21st century. So it also means that the educational system will increasingly provide the sites of struggle over the meaning and power of national identity and the national culture. School will no doubt also be the sites of various counter hegemonic movements and pedagogies. Now let's discuss the fallout of globalization, that is categorized in two things: internalization of education and finance related issues on this slide. So firstly, internalization of education provide the global opportunities and promote goodwill and will to encourage exchange of scholars, where our country students will go to another country to study and other countries students will come to in our country to study. So it will really encourage exchange of scholars. Then secondly, finance related issues. In order to be part of global configuration, the requirement of funds for social services, including education, will increase many-fold. For this purpose, it will be necessary to augment government funding for these sectors. Now, students, this is time for MCQs. We all are going to see the important MCQs I have set up for you, and there are general questions on globalization. So let's understand them one by one, and I hope you will be clarifying your concept more on this. So, first of all, let's see what is the amalgamation and rapid unification between countries identified as globalization, liberalization, socialization, privatization. Correct answer is A, globalization. Then, question 2, globalization has improved the living structure of which of the following? All the people living in developing countries, people living in developed countries, none of the above. So the correct answer of this question is related to people living in developed countries. Now, question number 3. Which Indian industries have been hit by globalization? Cement, jute, toy making, information technology. So the correct answer is toy making. C. Now next question. Which of these organization emphasis on the liberalization of foreign investment and foreign trade? So it is International Monetary Fund, World Health Organization, World Trade Organization, or International Labor Organization. Correct answer is World Trade Organization. C is the correct answer. Now, question number 5. Tax on imports is considered as an example of collateral, trade barriers, foreign trade, terms of trade. So the correct answer is trade barriers. Question number 6 is, which of the following is the main reason behind the investment of MNCs? So, to benefit foreign countries, to provide financial support to the country's government, for the welfare of underprivileged people, to increase the assets and earn profits. So, the correct answer is D, to increase the assets and earn profits. Now, students, these are some references for your study purpose, and I hope you have really enjoyed this and you will study more about it. So, students, in today's lecture, we have seen so much. We have studied about what is globalization. We have seen the globalization according to T. Evans also. And he said globalization is the space-time compression. In simple words, it means shrinkage of space as well as time. So this is considered as globalization. We also discussed about globalization, that people around the world, they are more connected with each other. We have seen in this globalization, and there is need of understanding of interaction of human society and environmental. So all the things are there. Education in global society has greater responsibility of shaping preferred future to the students. So when we are talking about globalization, it is really in terms of that point, it is very, very important, students, that we must understand exploration of change, interdependence, identity, diversity, rights and responsibilities, peace building, poverty and wealth, sustainability, and global justice, keys areas where education has to play a vital role in any case. If we want globalization to happen in our country also, within the heart of our students also. So teacher must develop the skills of cooperation, shared responsibilities, critical thinking, communication, positive and responsible values, attitudes, and orientation to active participation is very must. We have seen about globalization and education, and we have discussed that quantity and quality of education is the only thing that determines how, whether and how the country can participate in the process of globalization. So we must understand the quality and quantity must be given in a proper proportionate. We have seen the aims of education, which were mainly related to creating global citizens, and knowledge and understanding must be very strong of those citizens. They must carry values and attitudes. They must actually personally identify themselves, and their self-esteem must be highlighted all the time. Care and compassion must be developed among the students. Responsibilities and cooperations are such wonderful feelings, wonderful expressions which must be bare by the students. They must respect the social justice, respect diversity, environmental sustainability. So this is how it is working. That we have also discussed how the skills and process must be involved in framing the work of knowledge. Critical literacy must be there. Develop an express point of views. Identify unfairness and action to redress it. Empathy for others must be developed at any cost. This is the only root of globalization. Then we have also seen how the action and participation is very important for students. Their involvement is needed in sharing in groups so that they are able to understand the importance of living in a group, and it will ultimately lead them to globalization. Consider consequences. What will happen if you work accordingly, if you work in a very nice way? Cooperate and values participation of others, reflect and evaluate actions. So this is how it is working. Then we have also seen teaching skills with global perspectives. So learning process must include an inclusive classrooms. Participation for all must be inculcated. Student-centered learning must be enhanced. Experiential learning must be motivated because it provides them direct experience to learn. Inquiry based learning must be motivated. Interactivity must be encouraged in the classrooms. Cooperative learning, building self esteem. These are some concepts that we have discussed in detail. Enabling critical literacy using current issues, they must all be very, very effectively communicated to the students. We have discussed that how to deal with controversial issues in the classroom, how to balance and critically appraise any issue. You must have evidence. You must tell your students to have some evidence if they are discussing on some controversial issues. We have also seen how participating active citizenship is very important. Then we have seen the wonderful characteristics of 21st century educator, and which mainly involved like the adapter, the communicator, the learner, the visionary, the leader, the model, the collaborator, the risk taker. So these were all the things that we have seen in detail. So students, that those skills are very, very important. We have also seen globalization and its impact on education. The impact of education is very high. We uh, say that education doesn't play any important role in globalization. It does play, but it needed reforms with the system, like content, equity, and excellence, etc. So finance related issues and private of secondary or higher education we have seen in detail. So this is how students we have done, we have understood about the globalization. We have also understood about fall of globalization in terms of internalization of education and finance related issues. So provide the global opportunities and promote goodwill and will encourage exchange of scholars also when we talk about fallout of globalization. So students, I hope you have understood very well about today's lecture regarding globalization, its aims, important teaching skills of an educator, and its impact on education. So just keep revising this concept and understand more. So students, see you in the next class. Till then, stay safe, take care, and keep learning. Thank you so much, students.